Hello and welcome back to Full Times in a Podcast. This is part 2 of our Saturday night recording where we reacted to the Celtic statement that was released. The second part saw us focus on the hit piece that was put in the Scottish Sun on Brendan Rodgers. It came from a Celtic insider and revealed that this insider felt that Brendan Rodgers was trying to manufacture his exit. We also discussed the Daizen Maeda quotes where he was speaking about wanting to leave Celtic and not being allowed to, and we finally discussed the arrival of Kelechi Iheanacho. So as I said in the last episode, this was all recorded in the one go, but I split it into 2 episodes just because it was a very long one. So as we jump back in here, it's just me getting Tony's initial thoughts to the Brendan Rodgers article that appeared in the Sun. Tony, I think it was released late last night from the Scottish Sun, and it said that Celtic insiders fear that Brendan Rodgers is trying to engineer his way out amid split with board over summer transfers. As I said at the start of the show, it was with Roger Hanna, who's the head of sport at the Sun. Now, as we all remember, the Sun is pretty much a universally hated newspaper with Celtic supporters, but during the COVID season it was very much their go-to paper to get information out and give updates about what was going on behind the scenes. So they said that, so it says, Sun Sport understands senior figures at the club are concerned that Brendan Rodgers is trying to engineer his exit. They believe this was to do with Rodgers' remarks on Celtic's work in the transfer window, and they didn't go down well with the hierarchy. Whereas the next bit that was laughable, it said, what he said in public has torn the club apart. On and off the record discussions are creating division throughout the club. Now, where is it? It's been the same board, same management and same strategy. The club have spent tens of millions, and when Brendan came back he agreed to the club's strategy. There are now people inside the club who are deeply unhappy with his words. To make matters worse, these issues appear to be seeping into performance of the team. It's like Groundhog Day again. Now, I'll get your thoughts on it now, apart from, in my opinion, it being completely laughable. And yet again, it's a Celtic insider, nobody's brave enough to put their name to it. Do you think this was an attempt from whoever this has given the head of sport at the Sun this exclusive, was an attempt to maybe try and taunt Brendan Rodgers into resigning? Or do you think that they're possibly just trying to put it in supporters' mind that Brendan Rodgers is the one to blame rather than them?
Well, first of all, let me say, whoever it is a total prick. Whoever has decided to come out and give this story to the Sun, again showing how far apart these people are from the Celtic fans. It's no secret that Celtic fans, and I don't know anybody who reads the fucking Sun, thankfully. It's well known that a lot of people dislike the Sun, and for very good reason. But here we are, senior figures, write to the Sun to get the fans to turn on the best Celtic manager, or the most successful Celtic manager we've had since Steen in terms of trophies. I think I could be wrong, but somebody that's been very influential. And I turned on him after that. These people bleed for Celtic comments. I don't know if that was him. He's been asked to kind of backtrack, and he's thought, I'm just going to say the maddest, most definite bullshit ever here, and that's what he's went for. And maybe he does believe that, but I kind of hummed and hawed about it the kind of this week about what to say about him. And I guess my only thing now is to defend him. I think he has delivered for Celtic. He's never lost his league title yet. We're in trouble at the minute, I think. He had a great Champions League campaign last year. He's delivered 2 trebles. Let's be honest, without him, there's no quadruple treble. And that treble that Lennon done his best to fuck up, that was Rodgers' team, and everything Rodgers had laid that got us over the line. So I really credit him mostly with the quadruple treble. The best times when we done the second 9 in a row were under his watch. The 2016-17 season will be remembered very positively forever. An invincible treble when we had only 3 trebles to our name. Since he's come in, we've now got 8. Should have had 9, but he balls that one. I'm sure people have had that against him, and that's fine. I'm no gonna. Because I think overall Brendan Rodgers has been hugely important for Celtic, and for some arsehole at the club to be briefing Roger Hanna at the Sun against the manager. And he's the only manager to repeatedly question the transfer dealings. Not correct. Ange questioned it. Neil Lennon questioned it. There's a common denominator with transfer failings. It's not Brendan Rodgers, it's not Postecoglou or Neil Lennon, it's the Celtic board. It's quite incredible that these people are so wrapped up in their own importance that they can't take any accountability, responsibility. See if they come out right after the window and says, look, we're really sorry, we've made a lot of mistakes here and we're totally revamping our processes, we're reviewing it and we can't apologise enough. We let down the manager and the support and the players, and look, we really apologise. We're going to get things right in the future and we're going to communicate, and this is our plan, and let's all bundle together and give the team support. You could kind of get behind that. You would still want them to resign, but you go, at least that there's some humility there. There's some kind of acceptance and accountability. You can go, well, that's actually a decent statement. That's a decent thing to say. You've taken some accountability. No, God, know what? We're under immense pressure. Let's brief the Sun against the manager. I mean, it's fucking bonkers. And again, it kind of shows this kind of, they're hoping to, they've got the perfect manager for this, because they know a lot of the fans don't like Brendan because he left us. And you know what it's like. You leave Celtic, you're the worst person ever. I mean, Maeda came out and said he's thinking of leaving or he wanted to leave, then says he'd give the best for his team. Some of the comments I read about him, fuck him then. Like, what kind of way is that to talk about a guy that's been part of a double, a treble, a double and a double, that's given, again, so many great memories to Celtic? Fuck him. Just get rid of him. That's my favourite one. If he doesn't want to be here, just go. Well, unfortunately, he didn't go because the board couldn't sell him in time because they're useless. The window's now shut, so he's not going anywhere. But just stuff like that. But obviously, a lot of fans don't like Brendan. Fine, I can accept that. I get why people don't like him. His style of play at the minute's pish. But overall, I think he's done us a good turn. But irrespective, they've got the perfect manager where they've went, right, let's try and get the fans to turn on him. I think it's backfired and I hope it has, because it's a nonsense tactic and very inappropriate. And if I'm Brendan, I'm going, look, I'm resigning. And I'm telling the fans everything about how incompetent you are. If you are wanting to run about to the Sun telling stories about me, I'm gonna give you what you want. You can prove your story correct, but I'm making a statement to say that you don't have a fucking clue what you're doing. I think then he would have the universal support of everybody. But there is a part of me that believes that he is a Celtic fan who wants to leave Celtic with another title and say, look, sorry I left last time. Here you go. Here's another title under me. I think I've done a good turn for years and I'm off, and then hopefully most people would leave it at that. Whether we can do that or not, I don't know. I think it's going to be difficult to kind of the mess the board have put us in. So I think the article's disgraceful. I think, as I say, whoever's released it is certainly no friend of Celtic as far as I'm concerned, creating kind of more issues when the managers continually come out and says I'm not going to leave. So they're basically saying senior figures think the manager's a liar, and they've decided not to tackle this head on and phone Brendan and have a meeting with him. No, that would be too sensible. Let's phone Roger Hanna, who's a Clyde pundit, and go, here Roger, there's a big hit piece on our manager, love somebody at Celtic. No, don't put my name on it because I'm a shite bag. I mean, just total fucking, just nonsense. Just it kind of, but I'm glad it's come out. I think every time the board speak, they're telling you who they are, and they're telling you, look, we think yous are thick as shite and yous might buy this. So they continue to insult the fans, which is a good thing, because then more fans are going to get on board with the idea of removing these people and major change. And obviously that's something that needs a proper kind of conversation. As we've said before, that's going to take a lot of work for people a lot more intelligent than us to come up with a plan to get rid of these people. But I believe it can be done. I think that statement tonight and some of the stuff recently, I think a lot of Celtic fans, I know so many who have piled in so much money that are looking at it and going, nah, no more, no chance. This is, and you can you take an extra bit of shite when you support a club because you're emotionally invested. You look at fans of other clubs, like I know, look at the Huns for example, right? They've had the piss taken clean out of them for years, but they still give their money because they've got an emotional investment, and they've put up with some amount of shite and still give their money. So it's the only kind of place, and people like Man U fans as well, piss taken out of them, pile in their money. So it's the only kind of industry or hobby in the world where the people running that are continually kind of sticking two fingers up to you, but you still give them your money. But I think a lot of people are kind of looking at it now and going, nah, I'm not really willing to put up with this. This is really insulting, and that's what it is. That's what I said to a friend of the pod, MB, that the statement was a bit like the old Chewing the Fat sketch when it used to be somebody getting grilled under pressure and they'd stand up and just go, milk, lemonade, chocolate. That's what that statement felt like. It's a kind of, I don't care what the fans say, and that's it. That is how I kind of took the statement. But yeah, the Sun article, just every party disgraceful. As I say, I asked Dom Mackay 4 years ago about communication and not leaking stories to the Sun. Obviously, Dom was booted out the door. Again, that's another thing. I don't know if I mentioned this before. This board employed Dominic Mackay and had to sack him after 4 months. That's another failing. It's another major failing. That you brought in a CEO and had to get rid of him after 4 months. So you're obviously not even good at fucking signing CEOs, never mind fucking players. Man. So I know I'm rambling as a fucking Andy says they phoned us to get the story. They did this. They phoned or the podcast to kind of trash the guy, which was ridiculous. I did have another point to make. Oh, yes. And I'm not going to harp on too much about this. I'm just assuming that the person that said this has been told to say it. Charlie McGrew apparently said the words, "You can't criticise the Celtic board." I mean, again, I don't know if he's in with the club, but I know he played the day. He was a good player for us, and I don't want to hammer him for it, but come on, man. Of course you can criticise them. Their Champions League failings have been atrocious. Their contempt for the fans is abysmal. So it's okay to say you support the board and give a defence of them, but don't tell the fans they can't criticise the board. That's really just madness to say that. So that was another thing I seen during the week. I seen Matthew Lindsay for the Herald out with a kind of a puff piece about how Desmond will be remembered for, and I don't think he will be, but it seems to all be a wee bit too calculated in the media. McCowan's out early doors in PLZ saying basically protest won't work. Matthew Lindsay's out saying Desmond's this kind of guy. Mulgrew's out saying you can't criticise the board. And then you've got a Sun piece trashing the manager saying he wants to leave. So that all feels a wee bit coordinated for me, and I don't like it. I think it's pretty ridiculous. I hope nobody really falls for it. So for me, I think protest can work. I think Mulgrew was talking shite, no harm to him, good player. I think the Sun piece is a disgrace, and whoever released it is a prick. And I think Desmond will not be remembered fondly at all whatsoever. And Daizen Maeda, I've got no problem with the fact he wanted to leave the club. I don't have an issue with that.
Can I ask you something just on Mulgrew and that? You brought it up as slightly off topic, but do you think the sort of feeling around the club today affected the attendance at that charity game today? Because I think it probably did. I know it wasn't, I think the top tier was shut. It still got a decent turnout, but I think you would have had maybe 5,000-10,000 more if you had been run like a proper club.
That is exactly what I wanted to speak about, and I'm glad you reminded me. I think that let me just firstly say the people at the foundation are absolutely fantastic, amazing people who do fantastic work. I've been to quite a lot of their events, actually bought one of their silent auction prizes. If people don't know me, a few years ago actually was on the pitch at Celtic Park trying to score at half time, and absolutely made a cunt of it, but my missus scored. So I think the foundation are amazing, and I think the work they've put in is fantastic. Let me just put that out there, and the people involved in that side of things, brilliant. And I think the Celtic board 100% hampered that day to day. I think there'll be people going, I'm not giving any money to the club or putting money in for a charity game just because of the current state of the club. Absolutely. I think so. I think this board are hurting us in all different levels, and either can't see it or they don't give a fuck. Take your pick. So yeah, I think they definitely cost the foundation money. I think they'll continue to cost the foundation money. I think they'll cost the merchandise side of things are going to cost us money. I think on the pitch they've cost us morale. I think they've dampened probably the spirit of the manager. They've dampened the spirit of the fans and just turned that to anger. So that's the main point. This board are hampering Celtic all over the fucking place. They're hampering us in the transfer window, dealing with other clubs. They're just making an ass of so many different factions. But yet they release a statement and don't say, we apologise. It's just, we know what we're doing. UEFA to blame, media organisations to blame. Rangers died, of course, need to get that back in there. Just, yeah, definitely, just ridiculous. And it's a shame. I'm glad they still got a bit of a turnout. And I'm glad Big Arthur Boric was there. I'm sure that would have been, I'm sure him walking about with a Palestine top on. I'm sure the board liked that. I'll be surprised if we see Arthur in Celtic Park again. But yeah, I think that probably did have a big impact. And it's a shame because you want the foundation to succeed every time, and I hope they do continue to succeed with anything they do. But the bad feeling about the club is that the foundation's linked to us, so it's hard to kind of differentiate and take away. So we actually get told this earlier on that the Celtic the musical, which again great show at the Pavilion, was hijacked on a number of occasions with sack the board chants. So our friend KB said that, and our mate Connor just sent me a message to say that. So that shows you how fucking bad it's got. And hopefully Kelly at home or Kelly away next we hear it, and then Hibs at home at the end of the month should be a good laugh.
Aye, I know we got a bit off topic there, but I thought it. I agree with you. I think it probably did, as you say, it's affecting every part of the club at the moment. So I definitely think it had an effect. Just on the Rodgers thing, I could not believe what I was reading when I was reading that today. It was the fact that they were out saying, oh, this is the strategy, this has always been the strategy, and nobody's ever complained about it. And I had to think to myself, I was like, oh, if I've just been tripping, is it just me? Am I expecting too much? These managers we've had since I've been watching Celtic, they've never complained that I must be the one that rang. But then I found another document with quotes from managers. So let's go back about 10 years to Ronnie Dyla, who said, we had players we wanted to bring in, but things take too long, negotiations drag, and by the time we get them, the market has moved on. It makes it difficult difficult to get the squad together quickly. That's frustrating because it slows down preparation for the season. And then Brendan Rodgers in his first spell. We have a recruitment model here. I can only work within that. We identify the players we want, but there's often a delay in negotiations. By the time a deal goes through, the market has moved on. That's always frustrating. Then, your hero and mine, Neil Lennon. There was a lot we wanted to do in the summer, but a financial reality and club strategy mean that you can't always act as quickly as you'd like. Sometimes it feels like the process is just too slow. Then our big Aussie pal, Big Ange. Maybe I wasn't clear enough, I don't know. I think I've been pretty consistent in saying we need more players in. Obviously I haven't done a good enough job convincing people we need to bring people in. I'm not going to shy away from it. I've tried to be as forceful as I can. And then Brendan in this current spell, who said, we are clear on where we need to improve, and for whatever reason we haven't been able to. There's only so many ways that I can dress up that we don't have the players here. It was pretty clear. Now Danny, I'll bring you in. Does that sound to you as if our previous managers, the ones that came before Brendan, have all been singing from the same hymn sheet as the board and have been happy and no question the strategy of the club?
That's exactly what it sounds like. The board have been getting in Celtic's way for quite a long time. And this period of success that we've enjoyed over the last 9 years since Brendan came in at first has been in spite of the board rather than because of them. So Neil Lennon can't lie. I mean, Neil Lennon's beyond reproach. He's never lied in his life. He was out going to bat for the Celtic board on Sunday last week, so what he said must be true. But it's just a common theme. It's, again, it's only really Celtic that are affected by these issues, by, market conditions and blah, blah, blah. And it seems to really only be Celtic. So we're in quite a unique position, and we probably should just consider ourselves lucky. But I think the thing in the Sun today, I think they're clearing the decks to sack Rodgers. If I'm honest, I think they're going to try and create a narrative where Rodgers is just getting out of horn and they're going to need to pull the plug on it and say, look, thanks very much, but you've questioned one too many times, you're out moaning, and try to paint him as the enemy. That he's considering leaving, he's trying to engineer an exit. Well, I think they're the ones that are engineering an exit and a reason for, because, as much as we all are in agreement, and the folk that we talk to, most of us are in agreement, as you see by the Facebook comments about Maeda and stuff, there are folk that have got this, Celtic can never be criticised, Celtic are unflailing, and, every decision they make is right. So there'll be people out there that say, Rodgers, if Rodgers, they've no really got over the fact he left 6 years ago, they've no quite got over the fact that he came back. And, if the board were to get rid of them, folk would say, if he doesn't want to be here, fuck him, just get rid of him. He's not. So what'll happen now, and this is just my wild prediction, theory, but Rodgers is going to leave at the end of the season. I think we've all kind of accepted that. There'll be a briefing, depending on how the results go, but whether, if they fall off a cliff, like Tony seems to think we're going to do, then they'll probably be talking just sacking him, bringing somebody else in or writing the season off. If we keep going, and I think Rodgers will create a siege mentality within the players and the club. I think he'll say, look, it's us against them, really. And the fans want to back the team. Don't get it twisted. The fans want to go out there and sing for 90 minutes for the team. They don't want to be turning up, shouting, sack the board and this and that. They want to go there to back the team, but the board deserve to hear what the fans are fucking thinking. The board deserve to, they've had to basically go at the fans tonight with that statement, so they're going to hear the Celtic fans' response the next time we play. I know we're away to Kilmarnock, but the next home game will be interesting. But fans in an ideal world would turn up and back the team, and things like that. So the players, Rodgers, I think will get the players on side. That create a bit of siege mentality. Could be the best thing that happens to us, and we could churn out a few results. Now that we've got a settled team, we know who's going to be here in January, maybe things will start clicking for players. Maybe I've just been optimistic, but I can see a scenario in about 2 or 3 months where rumours and whispers, and probably in the Sun, says Rodgers, he's not going to sign a new contract, and he's already talking to other clubs. And I think they're trying to create a situation. They're trying to create a situation where any slightly reasonable person could turn and say, you know what, you're justified to get rid of him. And that would be detrimental to us, because as Tony said, he's won Everton at the club. He's not lost a league title yet. Our best chance to win the league this year is with Brendan Rodgers as the manager, and that's my opinion. I know things haven't been great to start the season, but as I said last week talking about the Rangers game, I've always got, and it could be blind faith, but it's also on Rodgers' track record that Rodgers has got it in him to pull something out of the bag for us. You know, he done it 2 years ago when we won the league. You know, you seen the tune that he got out the players the last kind of 8 games of the season. Pulled us out of the line. Obviously Rangers had their fuck ups, but we beat them at Parkhead. Got a draw at Ibrox and then beat them at Parkhead. Last year they were nice. The negativity was there last year as well with the nice signing. I mean, Dan, I'm not going to ask you to go back and look at it, but you had said something a couple of months ago about Sinisalo. Like, it was like middle of July, I think it was second or third week of July before we signed somebody last year, and it was a kind of reserve goalkeeper. I know Schmeichel came in as well, but you know what I mean? So, the same thing was happening last year. The difference was the team were flying. The team looked sharp. They'd been able, they'd hammered Man City and Chelsea a bit abroad and like started the season really well, and the football was really good. This year that's no there and things are a wee bit less rosy, but I would back the manager to turn that around. So when you see things like that, to me it says the board they're already thinking about the next manager. Shock or ankle by Kennedy. I think he's been there long enough. He was going to go to Spurs with Ange. He's probably stayed at Celtic for a reason. Not because Brendan Rodgers wanted to move as assistant manager. I think he's been promised a job. But who knows the way they treat employees? He could probably get fucked out for Sean Maloney. Who knows? But I think the club have already... Basically, when I read that in the Sun the day... Not that I read the Sun often before folks start turning off, but I did read that article, and what I got from it was the board have effectively moved on for Rodgers, and if the chance comes, they'll probably pull the trigger early, and they're trying to create a narrative where any kind of reasonable person could say, do you know what, you were justified on that, and that's detrimental. And it's bizarre. If you'd have said to us 6 years ago that Rodgers would end up being a martyr for the Celtic support, that would be fucking wildest dreams. But it looks to me that's what they're trying to do, and it's just a mess. Like with the Maeda stuff, and you know, Maeda was promised. Reading from what Maeda said, he told the club he wanted to leave the degree, and then you're talking about Maeda still being here, and we're selling other players, but we've not sold him, and then we can't sign, and it's just a mess. And it's no good when the fans are, every time you see something about your club, it's completely negative. It's shite, and I don't know what happens for here. It looks like we're going to stumble. We could win all our games, but we're going to stumble along to January until the idea of signing players again until we get through the exact same situation that we did in the summer, but which I'm already really looking forward to. But the Sun article was a total disgrace, and again, I just think the dark arts of the board are at work here, and I just hope Rodgers sees it through at the end of the season, because if he deserves to leave a winner. He deserves to leave the champion that we all know he is, and that he's made us. So I hope that's the case. But I think if the board were to get a half decent chance at emptying him, I think they would take it.
Aye, well, it's funny he said that. That was his words that he used in his opening press conference, that he would need to be emptied. So maybe it will come, and it seemed like pretty unlikely, but you never know. Andy, what about you? Do you think it's just an attempt by the board to sort of prey on those sort of wee unconscious feelings some Celtic fans maybe still have about Rodgers, about he could be on the sly way, looking for his way out and look for his next job, and how spectacularly do you think it's backfired on him, given the sort of unanimous response to it?
No, and I'll try not to spend too much time on it itself, because the boys have already covered it, and to be honest, I think we should really minimise just how much time we give the Sun on anything. But no, Danny's right. This is the board trying to engineer the narrative. They're trying to basically plan for when they can get shot at Rodgers, and probably move on to their next yes man. That's ultimately what they want. That's when they feel the most comfortable, when there's somebody there who won't question them, when there's somebody there who won't call their bluff and come out and say things that they don't like, because they know in North Korea they don't like that, and that's quite frankly what the boardroom is. You must never speak against them. They're right, they're always right, and their way is the only way to do things. It was just a hit piece, and I'm glad that fans can see it for what it is. I think unanimously now are more than I've ever seen before. Fans are united and all sort of seeing the same thing now. Sometimes under these articles in the past and under statements like the one they released today, you would see fans a bit of back and forth and people on one side and people on the other, but reading across all sort of platforms, I think more so than I've ever seen before, seen a sort of unanimous opinion that the board are fucking at it here. And like, you can think of Rodgers whatever you want, but see if you're the people at the top and running Celtic, and what you're doing at any time, let alone fucking to go have a go at your own manager that has gone to the Sun, that should be a problem enough for people wanting you removed. That just should just never be happening. It's totally unacceptable, and it should be rooted out. That it just should never be on. And even saying that Rodgers looking for his next job, but does Rodgers really want to be out saying these things and talking about how he pretty much feels let down almost by the lack of activity and all that? That's not going to paint him in a great light for his next job, because do you know what I mean? Like, that gets around. The next club are going to or no want to be in the position where it's, oh, what if we hire him and he starts saying that about us because we are maybe a bit slow in a one-off window and stuff like that. Like, it's no in his best interest to be coming out and saying stuff like this. It's just the bold and self-preservation mode. They don't know how to do anything else other than leak gutter news stories to media like the Sun, don't attach any name mate, and just get the whole senior officials or whatever other fucking shite they want to come out with. But aye, it's all it is. They're just engineering a narrative, treating fans as if they're fucking stupid, try to get out ahead of it so they can get short of them. And it would be at the point now where they're hoping they could announce the next manager as soon as possible and just try and undermine him and get him out the door as soon as possible. But aye, I'm just glad that as far as I can see, most fans can see right through it now. And that's a positive and a step in the right direction.
Aye, definitely. I feel that there is a real sort of unity amongst a lot of the support. I think that we're all pulling in the right direction. We seem to have identified what the cause is of Celtic being held back, and I think there's a real unity and a real movement. Like, even just looking at that statement tonight on Twitter, like, I think it's been up about an hour and a half now, and there's over 2,000 responses to it, and let me just tell you, I don't think there's one positive one to it. So I think the way they're trying to deflect and move on from this, I don't think it's going to pay any dividends for them. I think they're in for a real shock. They might think, oh, we've got 3 away games before they're back at Celtic Park. It'll all calm down by then. I don't think it will. I think there's more to come, and I think it's important that we stay unified, and even people that maybe aren't there yet, and just you can't belittle them or like whatever. You've just got to hope that they eventually join the cause to try and improve our football club. And look, I think we're all pretty clear. We back the manager, we back the players. It might be a siege mentality until the end of the season, and the last thing that should be is against your own board. But if that's the case, then I think we're ready to rock. And that includes backing players like Yang and Daizen Maeda, because if they've made promises about being able to leave and it's not materialised, that's not the players' fault. And look, they're still here, they're professionals. I'm sure they'll kick on and score plenty of goals this season between them. But the newest player who did arrive on Tuesday, I believe it was announced about 11 o'clock, and he's in a Europa League squad. That Europa League squad's another thing we'll maybe have to dive in a few weeks. This is obviously well over the hour mark already, but the newest signing to this squad was Kelechi Iheanacho, who I think I owe a slight apology to it. When I was talking on me and Tony's episode the other day, I says that laughably we were still in talks to sign him. That wasn't any dig towards the player. Like, he's a player who obviously has done well in the Premier League. Brendan's worked with him before, but for me it was laughable we were going back for a player who we'd scrambled about 6 months before, tried to get him on loan, and he preferred to go to Middlesbrough. That was, to me, what we sort of looked to use as a stopgap to replace Kyogo, and now it looks like he's the main replacement for not just Kyogo but Daizen Maeda as well. So look, he's here now. I think it's a 1-year contract with an option for the club to extend it by a year. Now, I wish him completely well. As I say, he's got good pedigree. He's played at some big teams, Man City, Brendan's Leicester and Sevilla as well, so plenty of experience. A great player when he's on form, the type of player that a few years ago you probably wouldn't have been able to attract to Scotland. So I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm glad he's here. I think we did need somebody else. Like, would he have been my number one choice? No, but he's here, and I think if we can get him going and Brendan can get him back in form, then he could be a revelation up here. Tony, what was your sort of thoughts on it? I think the sort of lingering of the poor transfer window maybe had an effect on how the signing was reacted to in the sort of immediate aftermath, but after a few days, and I know he put up a training video on his Instagram last night, that doesn't count for too much, but he hoping that he can be the main man for Celtic up top this season.
We're going to need hope. Look, he's obviously got talent. He's shown that in the past. He's had a poor couple of seasons. But for me, it's no his fault that we've had to resort to signing him last minute. That's not his fault at all. That's an issue by the board. So I think for me, it has to be that kind of look. It's us, the fans, Brendan and the players, and we're going to try and drag Celtic over the line and have a good season. So for me, you just wish the guy all the best. You hope, look, everybody looks good when they're dribbling past cones that aren't moving. But look, he's obviously trying to get fit. He's trying to get in shape. He's worked with Brendan before. Brendan had quite a bit of success at Leicester. So all you can hope for is he can find some sort of form and he can be the kind of the main man for us. I think you said it. It's very important that people are reminded, look, we totally back the players and the manager 100%. I want Celtic to succeed. I'd rather no be sitting for an hour on a Saturday night talking shite about guys like Michael Nicholson and Dermot Desmond and Peter Lawwell. I'd much rather be out enjoying myself, but it's just not the way things are, and we need to talk about these things because it's ridiculous stuff. But in terms of any actual, just really desperate for him to succeed, and hopefully he can do that. It's again same with Taneki. I'm hoping he can have a really successful season as well. So that's it, Balik Wisa. You're really wanting this to go to plan. So I wish him all the best. Hopefully Brendan, even though he's working under pretty outrageous kind of conditions, can get him firing if he actually even decides to stay. If I'm Brendan, I would have probably a fucking pissed off by now and told him to ram it. So aye, back in the actual, sack the bolt.
And Danny, what about you? Are you looking forward to seeing him? I know his interview with the Celtic website, that got me hooked when he was talking about how great a man Brendan was and how much he was looking forward to seeing him. Do you think Brendan can get the best out of him?
I think Brendan's the one that's got the best out of him in his career. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I'd love him to come in and score a couple of goals early and settle in and see what he can do. I just don't know. I really hope he is a success. I'm right behind him, like the rest of the players and the manager. Teneke as well. I want him to come in and can hit the ground running. Christ knows we need it. But Brendan obviously knows Iheanacho. He's used him before. You know, I think he scored a lot of goals for Brendan one season in the Premier League. So if Brendan can get him back again, then he's going to be an asset. I was watching an interview that Joe Hart did after that charity game today, and he was talking about, and he said he's a great finisher and he's a great person to have around. There's something about him. So if we can see that, we'll be happy. He'll probably only be here as long as Brendan is until the end of the season. But if he can start quickly, he'll need to score. Not just score, but he'll need to play well initially. He needs to. Right? It's not his fault. It's absolutely not his fault. But the pressure's on him, and I just hope he gets after a good start and he can start easing himself in. And I know we're not going to talk about it now, but he's been named in the Europa League squad, so it'd be good if he could hit the ground running with a couple of goals and score in that as well. And who knows, we might even fund him for 10 million in January.
Aye, nothing would surprise me. Andy, your last on him, what's your thoughts on Iheanacho? As I say, a few years ago might have been no within our reach, but that could either work for us or against us now. The fact that he's maybe dropped a few levels, or the fact that he could be desperate to get back to that sort of standard.
Aye, as you say, I think when he originally went from City to Leicester, it was about 20 odd million or something about that, with like the fee that he went for, and obviously was well thought of, and City were just, as ever, had an abundance of talent and could buy whoever they wanted, so they went and obviously went with Rodgers and get the best out of him. Played a lot of good stuff, and his career seems to have sort of stagnated. And listen, he's only 28, should really be coming into the sort of prime. He's footballing career for a lot of players. It's probably a good move for him in terms of he's going back to the managers who got the best out of him. He will need to sort of reignite his career, and hopefully he can do that. Hopefully he can enjoy his football. And as Danny says, it's not necessarily just about sort of putting the ball in the net, which is obviously massively important for strikers, but we've seen Will Ida, for example, who scored 20 or whatever it is last season. Like, that isn't just quite enough. Like, we need more, we require more. And hopefully he can do that and find that in his football. And a day listen, we need it. We've not got anybody else, so we're sort of relying on it at this point. But I think it would be great for the whole team, just a lift, to have somebody there that they could rely on, and really that sort of focal point of the team that we've not had since Kyogo left and Jock Cordoba never replaced them. But aye, so fingers crossed that it works out. And I would like to see him hit the ground running. That would really get things in motion. And I think he's alright. I hope all the new boys come in and like the wide men can make things happen and sort of get fans excited watching the football again. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the background, and rightfully so, and people are pissed off. But like, you're spot on. Ultimately, we just want to see Celtic be the best Celtic. We want to see them win games. We want to see them win well. We want to see good performances, and hopefully these players can do that, and hopefully they can sort of get us in the best possible position this season, or get us to the next transfer window where we can make a difference to the team. And just to touch on the Maeda stuff as well, like, listen, some people can't believe that any player who didn't grow up in the fucking East End of Scotland wouldn't want to do their entire career at Celtic and maybe would want to go and test himself somewhere else or earn some funny money. But no, listen, he's not a player that's going to down tools. I think we've seen that. So he should have everybody's full backing as well. A guy that's fucking knocked his pan in for the minute he's came here, regardless of what he's been asked today. So I think just had to get that in as well. But Maeda deserves everybody's full backing, and to be honest, he deserves everybody's full backing wherever he ends up in whatever sort of feat he fetches us, because it's what we Celtic players when they come here, that put yourself in the shop window, be a hero for a lot of people. You make us a good profit and you'll send us on your way, but when it comes to upholding our end of the bargain, we continually shaft players just like the shaft fans. So aye, Maeda's got everybody's full support as well.
There you go, an almost positive end to the episode, which has been close to the 1 hour 30 mark. I know we're on here and it's just past 11 o'clock at night, so this will come out Sunday and hopefully you enjoy it. We'll be back maybe with a wee more detailed look at that Kelly game later in the week as we discuss how the team will look. Obviously, Anthony Ralston and Kieran Tierney pulled out of the Scotland squad, so maybe need to look at how the defence will look as well, and if Celtic manage to make an absolute cunt of themselves again in the meantime, I'm sure we'll be back for another reaction episode. But thanks again for all the support recently. It has been a great month for us in terms of downloads, etc. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for joining. Make sure you're subscribed, or if you're just tuning in more because you love a bit of therapy with the Celtic Crisis podcast, then it's great to have you back. But hopefully you'll no ways for too long if we actually get rid of this board and can get running like a normal club again. But for myself, Darren, and Andy, Tony and Danny, we thank you for listening, and we'll speak to you later in the week. Hail, hail.